Yuzma. What a fantastic film. We got to give it some applause, some applause, some applause, some applause. Wow. Wow. I don't know. I don't know where to start, Dwayne. Where should we
Yeah,
start?
it's a lot. I mean, I just watched it for the first time there. Um, there's definitely things I knew, knowing his history and knowing people in his camp. But there was a lot of things I was just like, oh, wow, God, wait, I can't write that down. Wait, oh. Yeah, it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot. I mean, at the root of it, I've always known that, his story mimics Marvin Gaye so much in the sense of the religious, spiritual torment of, my gift, who is it for, being kind of beat up by your religious, upbringing. Um, wow. Yeah. This made me shed a couple of tears here.
I know. The ending when he's in the booth and he's first listening to the song. Do you know what song that was? I forgot to
Yeah. Higher ground. That was, I want to say it's Mighty Cause of Joy, I think.
okay.
At
Yeah,
first he was listening to the impression, so Mark to Curtis Mayfield, and then yeah, that yeah.
right. It would just when he got into the booth and started singing, I was like, this is one of the reasons why I love him so much because he has that soul and he has also has that spiritual, and he
Mm.
nails it to get just brings it together. That just makes you just he pulls at your
But
heartstrings.
let me tell you what I realized, and Questlove kind of talked about it a little bit, and I really realized it in that last scene when he was really singing in that raw. He's been so it's almost as if that he's been so ashamed of his gift that when you hear his recordings, you don't realize that he has that pure vocal ability that he has because his
Mhm.
voice is always stacked in the back. When Questlove talked about all these, like malting his voice, so it was like where sometimes it's not even audible. Like you have to like wait, what did he say or what is he saying? When you actually don't realize that no, he's not a mumbler. He actually can sing and he
Right.
actually have this whatever, but for some reason he shies away in his recordings.
Yeah. What were the first words, first impressions, the first things that you thought about right after seeing it? What were some of the words that came to mind?
Well, the first thing I was like I said, the thing I was thinking about is the religious factor. I've had my own personal views about it, and I really really hate the way we have had so many artists that we have, like I said, like Marvin Gaye, like Curtis Mayfield, like a few of them. You get the most beautiful music out of it, but it's that them feeling beat up in that torment. Watching the same thing with I don't know if you know the singer Donnie from the Color Section.
Hmm.
Just struggling with their gifts and these things, and yeah, it's just hard because it makes you wonder, like, it's selfishly you wonder as like, okay, is it going to be another record? But then you realize again, he is really about the music, and if he can't feel it, you know, it was interesting for me to watch because I always knew this, but I never saw it because he doesn't do social media,
Mm-mm.
so he doesn't have any pages. The actual Facebook page was ran by the management team, but not him himself. So watching them show him the love he's getting on social media because he has no idea, he was disconnected himself from all of that, which is great because you get to see you realize that this artist is coming from the most pure place
Mm.
possible. It's not going in to create to, what the fans want me to play, want me to hear. You know what I'm saying? This is pure thing. But then I also was tripping on how he wasn't satisfied
Mhm.
with how social media changed his shows, how he can tell because they had seen someone record his show on footage before that it now something became predictable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And once again, all this thing is messing with the purity of my performances.
Mhm.
So how do I get ahead of this thing to where what I'm offering the world is my art and my performance without it being scripted, without it being whatever, without you already giving the heads up, like
Mhm.
just all of that. Just
Yeah. What was your first when you first heard D'Angelo back in 95, 96? What was your first impression?
Well, here was the thing for me. You may know that I wasn't the biggest '90s R&B fan.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as American R&B, because I just felt like, everything had became so homogenized. I think I felt the instruments was very thin, that sound. And so I was really, really heavy into what was going on in the UK and in Europe at the moment, which was the whole acid jazz movement, the whole brand new heavies, Omar, um, all of that. And so when I heard D'Angelo, I heard the hip hop in it, but I was like, okay, but this is kind of,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, Let me mentally bookmark this and then see what more, what I'm saying, is coming of this, because he felt more right in for what I was listening to in terms of the UK, because the
Right.
UK artist was definitely still ingrained in having soul, Fender Rhodes on a song, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So I definitely felt like he was a refreshing a voice that came in that made me turn back to start to check for American R&B again, because I just wasn't. And actually, starting with the New Jack Swing movement, I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
So, it was, and then not that I hated it. There was definitely stuff I liked, but he was definitely just refreshing. And then I heard the Marvin, and me being I'm from the Marvin Gaye family. That's my distant cousin, and I heard it, you know. Um, yeah. So
Yeah,
I was so.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, for a person who doesn't know, I mean, I played instruments when I was a child. I sang in the choir. I mentioned earlier that for the folks who heard me talking, that I used to be in a church where we didn't listen to secular music. So the very first album I heard was D'Angelo, and he sounded so familiar.
Wow.
The very first tape I purchased ever was a D'Angelo tape.
Wow.
So, like he has a special place in my music dictionary, or, encyclopedia, because he was the first person I'd ever really heard, fully, that I was able to purchase. So listening to you talk about Marvin Gaye, and, how people felt when they first heard Marvin Gaye, that's how I felt when I first heard D'Angelo.
And he's definitely, as much as people always try to do that my era is better, he is definitely that one, even though I would be upset at the fact that he has so little output,
Mm-hmm.
but his output is so strong that he's definitely secured a legacy as one of the greats. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Seriously, because no one. It was interesting because when they were showing that footage from Erica Badu's talk at the Rebel Music Academy, so the guy that was asking the question about him, about where is he, that
Mm-hmm.
was Max Brick, from Moonchild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but that Moonchild hadn't formed yet. And it's
Oh, wow.
interesting to hear Moonchild. When you hear them, the first thing you know is that they were heavily influenced by D'Angelo and Erica. So it's
Right.
interesting to watch that footage, to watch him as a student in an audience asking her, and just to realize how far that influence has come.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Yeah. When you're talking about influence, there were a lot of different. He had a lot of different influence, and you played some of the music today. Can you share with us some of
yeah, so my full mix I played. My first song was actually Dear Prudence from the Beatles' White Album. D'Angelo listened to that album a lot. If you actually look, if you can go on YouTube and find it, there is a mini trailer for the making of Voodoo or whatever. And at one point they flashed to that record. But yes, so I played Dear Prudence from the Beatles' White Album. Had to play Parliament. He's a very huge Punkadelic Parliament fan. And Placebo Syndrome is one of those songs to me that sounds like, when I hear it now, I see where D'Angelo, Sarah, all of them just got this, yeah. Sly Stone, which at the end of his show when he's doing the Que Sera Sera, that
Mhm.
was the Sly Stone version. And of course Prince. Who else did I play there? Ohio Players,
Mhm.
James Brown. I didn't get to Jimi Hendrix, who's also a big influence. I didn't get to Joni Mitchell, who's also a big influence. And I believe Joni Mitchell's influence on him came via Prince.
Okay.
Because a lot of Prince fans discovered Joni Mitchell through his song called Dorothy, Battle of Dorothy Parker.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, and then I ended my set. No, I ended with Tribe Called Quest because he was also a big hip hop fan, and he was very into Tribe. And of course, he eventually ended up, working with DJ Premier. He worked with Dilla. He worked, of course, did the whole Soul Koreans. He ended up with Alicia Imam and Q-Tip and all that. But then I also played a song called Four by Madhouse, which is a Prince production. And I played that specifically because that's the song that actually brought him and Questlove together.
Okay.
That's the song that created there. He went to the Roots. The Roots was opening for the Fugees in LA. He had wanted to work because of Questlove didn't know who he was. Questlove was kind of snobbish about R&B at that time. Maybe he was like I was. I wasn't feeling R&B. But then he says when he heard D'Angelo album, he was like, "Damn it! Like this is that same dude."
Yeah.
So when he knew D'Angelo was at his show, and during his drum solo, he started off with that drum, the intro to Madhouse 4. D'Angelo was like, "Yo!" And they were the only two in the room that knew what it was, and that's how they connected.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When you're thinking about the different musicians that he worked with, even in the band, can you share some of the names?
Yeah, I mean, because first of all, I mean, he has Alan Leeds as his manager. If anybody know the Leeds family, that's all Prince. So he has remnants of Prince in his band with Alan Leeds being his manager, and then Jesse Johnson from the time.
Mm-hmm.
If people didn't recognize that was Jesse Johnson from the time, and then of course Pino Palladino, who's incredible, one of the most incredible bass players there is. Chris Dave, who in my opinion is the baddest drummer in the land. Isaiah Sharkey, Chicago's own, who ended up being his guitarist after Spanky passed. Spanky was his guitarist in the Voodoo tour, and he passed away. And Isaiah Sharkey, who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
The singers.
The singers. Oh, my girl Kendra Foster. He actually took her from Funkadelic.
Okay.
Yeah, Kendra was part of George Clinton's later clan, and Jermaine Holmes, out of Virginia as well. And Red, I don't know, I just call him Red. I can't think of the other dude's name. Just call him Red.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. Killer.
I mean, just the synergy they had, you think about how Prince was very detailed and James Brown was very detailed. You see those same sort of the way he conducted the band the same way, probably not as aggressive. I'm sure I didn't see him finding people.
He's not definitely not as aggressive, but he, they had a lot of trust with him because again, like Questlove would say, he would do stuff that was very unconventional. He would ask things of Questlove drum wise that was kind of unheard of. Like, wait, no, that's off, and it's like, just trust me, do it, and look at the outcome.
Yeah. Rhythms, right? He was almost using polyrhythms in his listening which is why when you hear it, it feels very cultural, very African.
Yeah. Well, Voodoo, he spent so much of his time with in Cuba, dealing with the African religious people in Cuba. So that's where Spanish Joy and all that come from. He was really taking in all of that, all of those natural sounds and all of that and everything.
When you listen to his music, Dwayne, what are you listening for? What makes it powerful for you? What transcends for you?
For me, it's something that just hits me. I love, again, polyrhythms. It's interesting because his first album was kind of set the blueprint for what quote unquote neo soul would become. Everybody thought it was this. They had this package together where it was the Fender Rose and the rim shot. Erykah Badu even came with the song Rim Shot, and that was the whole kind of groove. And then again he come back with Voodoo, and he completely flips it.
Mm-hmm.
Completely flips it to the point where no, this is definitely not voodoo. This is not Brown Sugar Part 2. This is a whole nother, situation. And then to me, he helped bring funk back because we didn't have anything funk driven in quite a while. He brought funk back, and I hear for that because I'm a huge Parliament. I'm a huge fan of most of the people who he influenced by. And Parliament, that's one of my. I grew up. My uncle was a DJ who inspired me, and he was a funk fanatic. So I identify with it hardcore. And then with Parliament also comes the Afrofuturism part of it too. So that kind of futuristic, progressive, space age stuff. I kind of look for that, and I hear it a lot in his stuff that I don't hear it many places.
Yeah.
So.
I had something I was going to ask you, but I was so caught up in just the influences. So I want to shift a little bit to talk about more of his sound. Well, his sound, that's much of a shift, but we're still talking about it. But he said that he played the beat. You said he played off. He played behind the beat.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any understanding of like why he would do that? What was he listening?
It's funny because in the video when he talked about not being in church and them not having a drummer and a bass player, I think that is a huge part of it. I didn't know that part. Him basically being the band playing one instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it comes from that. I've only known one other player. I don't know if you know James Collins from the group Fertile Ground.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you remember that Fertile Ground never had a bass player.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Band, James played the keys and he played the bass on the keys.
Oh,
and
wow.
that is something that you only can train yourself to do.
Right.
And I believe that those are things that's something with him in church, with him trying to fill out the sound without them wanting a drummer and all that. I think he trained himself to hear things in these ways that are very, very unconventional.
Yeah. The part where he says, it was really interesting when he was talking about his separating himself from D'Angelo and Michael.
Yeah.
He said, I leave, he can't leave D'Angelo on the stage. He's a part of him. Any thoughts on?
Well, yeah, because, it's funny because I was supposed to do a talk, because this year, I don't know if people are aware, but this is the 25th anniversary of Brown Sugar and the 20th anniversary of Voodoo. And there's a book this girl from Chicago by the name of Faith Pennick wrote for 33 1/3 specifically about Voodoo and the impact and the outcome and everything around it. And that's when it became this thing because as much as they was trying to say that he loved it, he did like what man doesn't like the attention that women, but he hated it.
Mm-hmm.
He hated it. And when they get ready to shoot the video, to do the video treatment, when it was even brought to him, the video treatment, he was like, wait, I'm doing what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, it was just like, because he was never that ladies sex symbol. Like they actually had something for Voodoo. They had to get, like I said, the choreographer and get someone to kind of more craft the stage because D'Angelo was married to the Rhodes.
Right.
So like the whole Brown Sugar tour and everything, he really never got up from the Rhodes. And it was like, no, with Virgil's like, you're R&B, you know, a lot, you gotta, whatever. And he did it, but he hated it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Like when Questlove talked about them, him, that tour, he can see the downward spiral. The downward spiral was this is when I feel like I'm selling my soul.
Mm-hmm.
So now who is D'Angelo versus who is Michael Archer? You know what I'm saying? Now who are my friends that are here for me? Who are my friends that are here for D'Angelo the artist? You know what I'm saying? Who here are here for my growth, and who here are here for the growth of my career.
Right.
Just all of that, all of that. Who's real, who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one thing that Questlove really said that I thought was very powerful is the thing that happens with them in their remorse of guilty of surviving. Him talking about the people in his world, in his neighborhood that he grew up with that didn't make it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that guilt, instead of just being happy, you kind of feel guilty. And we see it a lot because we also see it from people who go on to do some things, and we see those people who feel left behind, bitter and spewing all kind of things because they didn't, you know what I mean? It's
right.
like, so yeah, it's, and I think he's still battling with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still battling with that in terms of, yeah. Who am I?
Think the film took a lot of trust. He trusted
to
be able to get close, which is why I love this film so much, because it's so intimate. And even when he wanted to tell more about what he was feeling and how he was, what he was going through, there's a part of him that was just like, I can't. And I felt that. I'm like, some things you do have to keep close to your heart. Some things should not be shared. Not everybody needs to have that information and get that close to you. And that's why I love his music, because I feel like we get a sense of who he is from the music. That I don't have to know his personal life. I don't have to know those things
because
about
that honestly, he is definitely one of the purest artists here. Like, again, I'm reiterate, he is not coming from a place of record sales, album sales, hit single. You know what I mean? Like, he goes in with complete thought of a vision of how he wants things to sound. And so I don't even think he's ever been singles driven. That's up for marketers to decide what song they think is the strongest off the record or whatever. But, I'm going to give you a full something.
Yeah.
All I know is I would love to hear some of his unreleased.
So selfish, right?
All
of us do it. All of us.
Yeah.
So before we keep going, I want to make sure that everyone that's watching tonight, if you have a question, if you have some thoughts, please put it in the chat so that we can ask our music historian, Dwayne Powell, our DJ connoisseur. Put some questions down for us. And I got a hello from James T. Alfred. Hey James, it's so good to see you. And Ludine, thank you for coming back. So I wanted to talk too about back in the 90s, they used the term neo soul. And I always wanted to know your thoughts about the term neo soul, and R&B, and how does D'Angelo fit within those? Is neo soul even a genre first? And then where does he fit? Or does he?
Kedar Massenberg, who at the time was responsible for D'Angelo, is the one who coined the term. Kedar Massenberg, D'Angelo was his artist, and then he ended up moving to Motown. He's also Erykah Badu was his artist, and with him having Erykah and with him having D'Angelo, and then eventually Chico DeBarge, he coined the term, and it was basically used for marketing. And of course, it ended up sticking because D'Angelo blew, Erykah blew, and then you had Maxwell come along. You had Rahsaan Patterson at that time, and it just seemed more and more where now labels are starting to take notice and trust this thing. But I've always had a problem with the term because neo soul is saying new soul, and there was nothing new about it. But I get it because, like I was saying, it was a return to soul because I believe the music had gotten so watered down. It started to me in the mid '80s. Clive Davis signing Whitney Houston, signing Kenny G at the same time. Actually, jazz became watered down. I mean, and no diss to anyone. I mean, because we've always had, Whitney being a pop artist wasn't a bad thing because we've had Black pop artists before. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But for some reason in that period, it became this thing where there was only room for one, a room for this. And so if you look at any of like the TV One unsung series,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at any of the unsungs like Angela Winbush, Mickey Howard, Angela Bofield, the underlying theme in all of them was the interest of Whitney Houston
Mm.
as the fall of their career, because everything became about Whitney. Um, and so everything from there became the power ballad, the power pop. I mean, to this day, for me, the whole, the Voice, the what was the other, American Idol, everything is centered around the power ballad and the whole power pop ballad thing. And so that was the reason why I wasn't feeling it. So for me, I don't like the term, but I did love the welcome back to um, soul, because the difference between soul, even though R&B is the umbrella, because it was rhythm and blues first, soul just encompassed a little bit more to me. It was a mixture, like you said. I heard you hear so much more of the blues. You hear so much more of the church
Mm-hmm.
than you did, and just having and just when I hear R&B, I always thought about stuff like uh, everything was having a good time. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how
Party.
to word it really, but
Yeah.
yeah. The soul brought this grit that wasn't, you know, that wasn't present. That need to yell, that need to growl, that need to whatever. Just leave it all on the floor. You know,
Yeah.
soul wasn't polished, where R&B can be like, was like Motown, the polished machine. It wasn't polished.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so we have about 10 minutes, and I'm just want to encourage our audience just one more time to give us some questions so we can ask away. What are did you have anything, Dwayne, that you wanted to add about the film at all before I ask the last couple of questions I have?
Oh, I mean, it's just, man, that film. I found myself teary eyed at moments. You know, knowing how reclusive he is, and knowing, you know, to see him like finally just kind of be open about his life, and
Yeah.
not all the way, because of course he let you dig deep into, but just to even get that kind of glimpse, um, and see him a little vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he comes from a tough place. He's a tough dude.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so yeah, it was, man.
Yeah, I
Now I
never
want to
liked
see it
when
again.
people would say things like, they would be upset that he wouldn't have an album, or they would kind of question, well, is it gonna come out? Like they would say things like that. And I would just say, like, art takes time. And after watching this film, you really see what he's been struggling with.
Well, me personally, like I said, we always, as selfish fans, we want more, and it gets more rapid. The more it, the more that this world start giving us things for instant gratification, the more social media, the more we have so much access, and now social media is putting us right into the lives of the artists. We're seeing what they're doing every 5 minutes, the TMZ of it all.
Mhm.
You know, we get very selfish and demanding, and then we also get self-righteous. You know, and I really hate when, you know, when rumors of his drug use started. I
Mhm.
really hate how we always would refer to that. So now, anytime he's not in the social in the public eye, or anytime you haven't heard from him tomorrow, oh, he must be strung out again. Oh, you know what I mean? And I've
Mhm.
seen that happen with so many artists, it drives me crazy, because it's like you really don't know them personally like that.
Right.
You know, and you don't know where they are. You know, they could be on and in the spiritual journey,
Mhm.
which he is. You know, and he finally, and that was the thing that really made me tear up the most at the end, when he finally sat there and said, "Fuck religion.
Mhm.
What's the source?" Because
Right.
that's the thing that he's been grappling with in this 25-year ride. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? What is the source? I've been beating myself up based around this man-made thing that everybody put on me. This is how you're supposed to do it. That ain't how I do it. That ain't
Mhm.
what, you know what I'm saying? So that really made me emotional the most, because I'm like, he finally got to this place.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that was the moment to me, like Malcolm X, when Malcolm X finally realized, I'm just regurgitating someone else's thing. What is my voice in this? You
Yeah.
know, forget this religion, forget everything else that I've been trained to say. What is, where's the source? You
You know,
know,
and it's even with you think about the well, I had it in this golf, but it was something so profound. Oh, I know what it was. We can learn a lot from D'Angelo. He creates boundaries. He does not
yeah.
allow you, like here the woman is still twisting his hair at the show. I was like, what is he doing back there? And he's getting his hair twisted. He's like, this is my process. You know, for me to transform into D'Angelo, I gotta do this. I gotta prepare. So, but we can learn a lot from him, because sometimes it's about keeping your information, what you're doing, close. You know, it's about creating those boundaries. And then it's not about like sharing all the information that you have. It's like, let me just keep this, let me tuck this in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I wish we can get back to that place. Like I said, I hate this world that we live in, that we have these things and these places that give us too much celebrityism,
Mm-hmm.
and getting us to the point that we think we have the right to be in these people's lives the way we pry into their lives.
That's right.
And I really appreciate the way he does, present when I'm ready to present. If he's going through whatever, let him go through. It's not as if you're not going through
That's
anything.
right.
It's not as if you don't know anyone personally in your family, your friend circle, who's going through something. So don't, the same way I was saying about the presidential election, when everybody was on this whole thing about how they wouldn't vote for Biden or whatever else, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, it's just interesting the way we vet. You don't vet your mate, it's hard.
Woo!
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
unfair to put on D'Angelo this thing and try to push him out. Would I even want a Rush D'Angelo project? I wouldn't want that.
No.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't want a half-ass. How many times have we gotten a project from someone that didn't live up to the last one and they rushed it trying to meet the demand of the hype of the last one?
Mm-hmm.
No, slow it down. We get back to the art of it. And I love the way, no matter what, he's thinking about his art, because this is his soul that he's bearing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, like even when he was in his last album, when he had the Michael Brown, and he added another political twist to it. And I think I read, or if I heard about this, that it was going in a different direction. But then when Michael Brown was killed, he added these other songs that were much more political. Even the idea, his whole work is revolutionary, and it's political, because
Mhm.
Black love is political.
Yeah.
So that to add that other layer and that element of these songs in Black Messiah just really moved me, because I was like, this is another part of his layer of his artistic practice that we're seeing unfold in front of us.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
I mean, I've watched, and similar, to someone out of his camp, I watched some of the things that Bilal went through. He and I, were buddies. So, I watched the things that tormented him in terms of where he wanted to go direction wise, and the labels telling him to do this, that, the other.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that D'Angelo, because of, he's in a situation where, I mean, again, the manager talked about, the artist versus the product. I can, how he can very well look up and D'Angelo will be gone for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? How do you have to let him do it? It's the same thing we see with Sade. Love it. You don't hear a peep from her until she's ready to give you something.
That's right. And no one says anything about her being on drugs.
No.
They're like, let a brother live. So yeah, we're coming to the end of our conversation, and wanted to ask you to give us your favorite D'Angelo song, maybe one or two, and maybe two artists that's influenced by D'Angelo that you are listening to.
Okay, so let me do this. So
finally, tell us where we can find you.
So I'm gonna go this on the Brown Sugar album. My song from that was When We Get By.
Mhm.
Very gospel church to me. From Voodoo, ooh, that changes. Spanish Joint is my groove. I still play that in my sets. But then The Root.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, from the last one, from Black Messiah, I instantly went to Portray Your Heart. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
and not Really Love, even though I like Really Love. What was the name of the song? I
From
can't
that
think of it.
album.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm,
I don't know. I haven't
Uh,
looked at it.
I can't think of the name of the other song off that album, because I Really Love is the one that keeps standing out.
Mhm.
And that's because I got the whole footage of I know the footage from SNL, from the Saturday Night Live.
Right.
I have that stuck in my head. Uh, Another Life. That's what it
Another
is.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And
then
then,
an artist or two that's
oh,
influenced.
definitely, artist out of Australia by the name of Jordan Raquet.
Oh yes.
He is most heavily influenced by D'Angelo, and he's actually his live show is actually really incredible. I've seen him 3 times so far. He came to the Bottom Lounge. He came to Sub T and somewhere else. He's one. Again, Moonchild. Again, Max Brick was the one in the audience asking. The vocalist of that group, she definitely has an Erykah Badu influence.
Yep.
But the grooves just definitely started that D'Angelo thing. I would definitely go them two. Oh no, I'm gonna go 3. Aaron Abernathy. He is, if you're familiar with the rapper and producer by the name of Black Milk,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Abernathy is his musical director, and he has his own. He has about a good four records out. And he's actually been. There's been times where he's been accused of imitating D'Angelo, and he isn't. It's his groove, but it's so similar to D'Angelo that D'Angelo stands will definitely be like, "Oh, he's trying to sound, what I mean, whatever." But he is so dope.
Yeah.
He is so dope. So yeah, I'm gonna go with them 3.
Cool. So where can we find you, Dwayne? How can
Um,
we support you?
if you look up Sound Rotation, one word, anything that comes up is me. That's my Instagram is Sound Rotation. My Twitter is Sound Rotation. On Facebook is DJ Dwayne Powell. And then I have then I have DwaynePowell.com, DuanePowell.com. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm on Mixcloud. Check my mixes out. I got a radio show coming soon. That's supposed to be
Hey.
happening. Let you know about that. That's going to be a partnership with the Silver Room. He just launched the Silver Room Digital. So yeah, trying to keep it busy in these COVID streets.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Dwayne. We really appreciate you. Love the selection earlier and love your conversation. It was so informative. For everyone that's listening and watching, please follow Dwayne, follow the Gary International Black Film Festival. Just want to let everyone know that tomorrow we have films that start at 10 a.m. and they go all of the way to 8 p.m. with The Debauchery Ball, which is another Chicago favorite with Kahari B and all of the wonderful folks that have made that film. So thank you all again. We're going to close it out. Find all of us on our social handles, Gary Blackfest, Dwayne Powell, Sound Rotation. I'm trying to remember if there's something else. Oh, and thank you so much.
Circuit.
Oh yeah, Tofu Chilling Circuit. Yeah, you could say that. But and also I just wanted to thank Kareen Billsma. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Kareem Billsma, Devil's Pie. It's a fantastic film. If you have a pass, you are able to watch it for another 48 hours. So go ahead and watch it again and tell your friends to buy a ticket to the festival. All right. And we'll see you all next time.